The Coyote Twin, Vermilion's downtown theater. Providing entertainment Thursdays through Sundays.
Coming up, the Yotes show off their talent to kick off D-Days.
And it's the end of an era for Julian Hall.
Live from the Al Newharth Media Center, this is Coyote News.
The time is 5 o'clock. I'm Michael Stake.
And I'm Hannah Gokenauer. Happy Dakota Days! Yotes Got Talent kicks off the tradition-filled week, but first. The 108th D-Days started off with a bang. Fireworks exploded over the Dakota Dome Monday night. The show followed the kickoff event held in the SCSC. The sound of USD and the Spirit teams led students and the company out of the Dome parking lot. Even though the fireworks took place Monday night, D-Day's events officially started on Sunday.
Yotes Got Talent was the first event to kick off D-Days. Students showcased their talents and the top 14 D-Days royalty were announced. The D-Days committee president began the event. Tombi Nialika taught the audience the traditional chant of the week. 3 acts took the stage showing off their singing and piano talents. The first act of the night was duo Margaret Meyer Henry and Brian Shirley performing Shot by Lawrence. Rebecca Kelly performed next with an original song titled Gold. Following was Lucas performing Love is a Losing Game by Amy Winehouse. The audience voted by phone for their favorite performance. In between the acts, the royalty court played minute to win it games. Half of the court competed to see who would be the first to get an Oreo from their forehead to their mouths with no hands. The other half of the court competed by moving M&Ms from one cup to another with a straw. After the games, the top 3 places of Yotes Got Talent were announced. Rebecca Kelly won first place. The top 14 D-Days royalty were announced at the end of the event. The nominees are required to go to the kickoff event, parade, and halftime at the football game. Mr. and Miss Dakota Days goes through an evaluation process before being picked. Royalty needs not only the student body vote, but also to write a 500-word essay explaining why they should be Mr. or Miss Dakota Days in interviews with the judges panel. Mr. and Miss Dakota Days will be announced at Saturday's football game's halftime.
D-Day's activities continue through the weekend. Coyote News' Sydney Funderman is live in the muck to find out about the Freedom Forum's involvement in Saturday's big game. Sydney?
Thanks, Hannah. I'm here with Jean Polisinski, who is the Senior Fellow for the First Amendment at the Freedom Forum. Could you maybe tell me a little bit more of what the Freedom Forum is for those who may not know?
It's a nonprofit, really educational group that has a mission of really helping people understand their First Amendment freedoms, not lecturing to them, but just saying you need to know these core freedoms in order to be a full citizen. So it's educational and nonpartisan.
The Freedom Forum is hosting a tailgate event on Saturday. Why does the Freedom Forum believe that a First Amendment awareness campaign is necessary?
Well, we do an annual survey. As much as we talk about the First Amendment, we also want to listen to what people have to say around the country. So we do a survey every year, which asks people their knowledge and opinions about the First Amendment. And we find out a lot of people have questions or really don't quite understand what all 5 freedoms are all about. So part of our mission is to go out and take those survey results and talk to people and answer questions and be present. So we think we're going to do a number of campus events. We had a round table at the University of Georgia last month. We're going to do this tailgate event here, be in the parade, be present with a tent at the football game. And then we're going to be going to Morgan State for a town hall meeting with students. So we will see which one works best, but we're really glad to be at USD. Freedom Forum has a long history at USD, starting with our founder, Al Newharth, who graduated from USD. So we're glad to be back.
How have you seen this change over the course of your career?
Well, I think We're slightly more knowledgeable probably as a group of citizens because we're so much more engaged now with marches and petitions for change, and we're using them. We may not understand why we have them or where they came from, but we don't teach a lot about them. I think a lot of Americans assume First Amendment freedoms will be around sort of like air, and every generation has to learn that they need to be refreshed and renewed and applied to different circumstances. So we're here to help the current generation of students and other citizens. How do you apply those freedoms to what we do in our life today?
Is there any plans for more events like this in future Dakota Days?
Well, we'd like to come back, I suspect, for Dakota Days in a number of ways. For a lot of years, we had an award that was presented here in Al's name. But, USD with the Al Newharth Media Center is very dear to the hearts of all of us at the Freedom Forum. So Dakota Days is a great way to reach out to not just the current students, but of course alumni and staff and others in the community. So we'll have to see, but I hope we can do something in a given year about reminding people about their freedoms.
And finally, since it is Dakota Days, what are you most excited for this weekend?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to ask my colleagues. I don't know if it's the parade, the tailgate moment, the game. There's some games and a trivia contest during the game. So we'll be present all the way through Saturday. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for being here, Gene.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Live in the Muck for Coyote News, I'm Cindy Funderman.
Thanks, Sydney. The tailgate begins Saturday morning at 10.
After being out of commission all summer, the demolition of Brookman and Julian Hall officially began yesterday. The spring semester was the last time students were living in Brookman, while Julian Hall hasn't housed students for years. The space will be used as a parking lot for the new Health Sciences building. Coming up, students test whether or not they can handle their spice.
In a world where embracing your identity is a privilege not usually given to the members of the LGBTQIA+ community,
the University of South Dakota Spectrum provides community and education for young queer scholars.
sexuality and identity are defined on spectrums.
And having a community of open-minded, inclusive peers provides safety. Spectrum is one reason all Coyotes can call the University of South Dakota their home.
This is Coyote News.
On Monday, efforts began to turn on the heating all across campus. USD's facilities management staff need to inspect each building and will need to pressurize more than 10,000 feet of steam pipes. FM tries to start the heat as soon as the temperature outside starts to drop, but South Dakota weather is unpredictable, so it may take some time for everything to be turned on. Heat gets restored on a priority basis. They start with the residence halls and finish in the academic buildings. They hope to have heating on all across campus by Friday.
Introductory Spanish classes are being taught in Vermilion Public Library. Instructor Royce Miller came up with this idea for this class right before the start of the pandemic, which caused the project to be on hold for 2 years. Miller, who used to work at the library, says he got the opportunity to host this class after creating the syllabus for the course.
I'm teaching a very introductory level Spanish. I tried to let people know that they can just start with absolutely nothing. I like to start with greetings and how to say hello and how are you. And then from there, if I recall, it actually moved into family.
People from every age can enroll in the course. No prior experience is required. Classes are held Saturdays from 10 to noon in the Kozak room or over Zoom. They'll be held until next Saturday and are completely free.
The Korean Student Association kicked off their first event of the year on Saturday. The Spicy Fire Noodle Challenge was too hot to handle for some, leaving some participants in tears. The event was a competition to see who could eat spicy noodles the fastest. The night kicked off with a Kahoot to test people's knowledge on Korean culture. Participants chose to eat either spicy or extra spicy noodles. The event organizers had plenty of milk and water to ease participants' pain. The top 3 fastest competitors won prizes that consisted of Korean snacks, noodles, face masks, and more. Korean Student Association President Eun Jin Lee and Vice President Erica Martinez began the club in August. Eun Jin says that she's happy to be able to bring her culture to USD.
There's no much diversity here, so I feel like I'm the only Korean, so I want to introduce Korean culture to people here.
Lee and Martinez say they appreciate SGA for supporting their new club's budget. In the future, the club plans on having Korean movie night, a K-pop karaoke competition, and a singles mixer for Valentine's Day.
Election Day is in less than 2 weeks. Clay County voters will find in many races there's just one candidate that's on the ballot. That's the case for the county auditor, register of deeds, and sheriff's office. 4 Clay County Commission candidates are running for 2 open seats: Jeffrey Graylobe, Constance Moore, Nelson, James H. Bonsack, and David Teasy. The election will be held Tuesday, November 8th. Early voting is already underway.
Coyote News' Callie Connors is live in the muck to find out more about upcoming local elections. Callie?
Thanks, Hannah. I'm here with Michael Card, an Associate Professor Emeritus here at USD. So, as the midterm elections are fast approaching, since they will be on November 8th, can you speak a little bit about what exactly the midterms are for those who might not know?
Sure. A midterm election is the election in between presidential elections. The idea of a midterm is so that whatever is going on in the presidential race wouldn't affect state and local races. That's the intent. Turns out not to be the case anymore, as almost all issues being discussed are national issues, and the candidates that are dealing with local issues or statewide issues are the rare candidates.
Would you say that voter suppression affects students?
Well, voter suppression is an interesting term. It's very loose and broad. Voter suppression could be viewed as what sort of ID that you're required to have. You know, voter registration is October 24th or 28th. It's Monday at 5 o'clock is the last time to register to vote in South Dakota. So if you don't have a picture ID that's government issued, whether tribal, state, your student ID also works. If you don't have one of those, you're not only not going to be able to register, you're not going to be able to vote. So if that's voter suppression, then that's a real problem. But in South Dakota, anymore, we don't have much voter suppression. What there is probably limited places to vote and places where you may have to wait in line a long time to vote.
Is there a way for students to register to vote here on campus?
I don't know the answer to that. I know it's about a 15-minute walk to the county auditor's office downtown, and during what we call business hours, 8 to 5, if you bring your ID and remember your social security number, you can register to vote, and you can even vote at that time if you go to the county auditor's office.
Can students who are here from out of state still register to vote in South Dakota?
They can register to vote in South Dakota. They'll have to use their local address here in Vermilion or wherever they're living and commuting from. But again, they need a government ID and that address. I would also take along a piece of mail that's addressed to you at that address, just for good sake. If you go to the Secretary of State's website, you can actually download the registration form, and it will contain everything that you need to have and bring with you to register to vote. If you go to the county auditor's office, you can vote right there.
Mike, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Kelly.
Live in the muck for Coyote News, I'm Callie Connors.
Thanks, Callie. Early voting is underway at the county courthouse.
A unique collection of instruments is being showcased at the National Music Museum this Friday in a new exhibition called Gamelan, A Way of Life. Gamelan is the Indonesian word for ensemble, a musical showcase featuring the music and instruments of the Kayaranga Manus Everest Gamelan, a set of mostly percussion instruments. These instruments are crafted and tuned to be played together. The display, a winner of 2 awards, delves into Indonesian culture. A concert will be held on Friday at noon, where Tay-Tag, Vermilion's campus community ensemble, will be performing. The exhibition and concert are free for all.
Next on Coyote Sports, we see what our followers' favorite D-Days traditions are.
And the volleyball team grabs 2 more Summit League wins.
This is Coyote News.
The football team will try to end its losing streak on Dakota Days.
And the volleyball team picks up a couple wins. This is Coyote Sports. I'm Landon DeBoer.
And I'm Carly Phillips. The football team will host its Dakota Days game this weekend against the Southern Illinois Salukis. They'll try to stop the 3-game skid they're on after their loss at the Illinois State Redbirds last weekend. The Coyotes dropped their matchup in Illinois 12-10. USD was limited to just 1 touchdown on a run from Shamari Lawrence. Quarterback Carson Camp was held to under 120 yards on 16 attempts passing.
The volleyball team will play next in Denver tomorrow night. And while the football team was on the road, the volleyball team stayed home to play 2 games last week. In game 1 of the week, the Coyotes defeated Oral Roberts in straight sets. Elizabeth Junkie led the team with 24 kills in the matchup. Last Saturday, USD also swept Kansas City, with Junkie picking up her 13th double-double of the season on a 16-kill and 13-dig performance.
The soccer team will head to Fargo to play the Bison on Friday. They split the 2 games they played last week, losing to the Kansas City Roos but beating the Oral Roberts Golden Eagles. Against Kansas City, the Coyotes were held scoreless, and a late goal put the Roos ahead, winning the game 1-0. In game 2 of the week, the story was different. In the 73rd minute, the Coyotes put it away 2-1 with a goal from Joanna Zanin.
The tennis team played its last fall matches before Summit League play begins in January. They went to Oklahoma to play in the ITA Regionals in a multi-day contest. The Coyote tennis team saw Estella Yeager make the deepest run ever by any South Dakota player at the tournament by reaching the round of 32 in the main draw. The team saw a total of 2 players reach the draw, which is a record during head coach Brett Barnett's 9 years with the team.
The swimming and diving teams will travel to Kansas to compete on Friday and Saturday against Kansas University and Lindenwood. The Coyotes had 2 swimmers post wins in a meet against Nebraska and Minnesota last Saturday. Freshman Taylor Burr won the 200-meter breaststroke in 2 minutes and 19 seconds, moving into 3rd on the all-time charts at USD. Sophomore Jack Berdahl won the only other individual title for the Coyotes when he finished 1st in the 100-meter breaststroke in 57 seconds.
The Coyote cross-country teams will head to Grand Forks on October 29th to race in the Summit League Championships. Last weekend, they competed in the Platte River Rumble in Nebraska. At the meet, the women placed third and the men placed fifth in the standings. Murga Gameda led the men with a time of 23 minutes and 59 seconds, good enough for fifth place at the race, and a new personal best. Abriel Gierley placed seventh for the women's team with a time of 21 minutes and 31 seconds.
The triathlon team will have to wait until November to compete at the USA Triathlon Collegiate National Championships in Arizona. They finished second at the West Regional Qualifier for NCAA triathlon teams in Missouri. Leading the team were seniors Cass Dalbeck, who finished sixth, and Ella Kubis, who finished seventh at the event. The Coyotes tallied 82 total team points behind defending national champion Arizona State's 123 points. That's it for Coyote Sports.
When we return, we ask students what their favorite band was when they were in middle school. Stay with us.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, this is your Uncle Tom.
Hey, Tom.
I was just wondering, how's school going there for you, kid? I don't mean to interrupt or anything, but I'm just kind of in a rush because they only let you have a 1.5 minute call when you get booked at the police station.
Jeez. What do you mean you're in jail? You want $400 again? Are you serious?
Well, I mean, I guess if you want to see your uncle in a cage, then that's your prerogative. And I mean, probably should have wasted my
Come on.
phone call on your dad.
Whoa.
Would have got the same answer.
Yeah, you probably would have, because you're an animal and you belong in a cage.
Thanks again here for being there for me. I know that you really care a lot about me and my well-being.
Well, you don't care about my well-being. You're trying to take my money so you can just continue to be a criminal. That's fine then.
You got 5 seconds.
Oh yeah, we'll go to rehab.
This is Coyote News.
It's probably safe to say that our musical taste has changed a lot since middle school. Wouldn't you agree, Michael?
I'd agree for the most part. Most people have changed, but I still love me some good Disney Channel music and some anime music.
Well, besides Michael, this week we asked students what their favorite artist or band was in middle school. Here's what they had to say.
In middle school, I was obsessed with 21 Pilots.
Nicki Minaj.
One Direction. Forever.
I think it's Adele.
Justin Bieber.
Big Time Rush.
Definitely Taylor Swift. Hannah Montana.
Chance the Rapper.
Taylor Swift.
One Direction.
21 Pilots.
One Direction.
Anything 80s rock.
Drake.
Fall Out Boy.
Justin Bieber.
Drake. Bruno Mars. Drake. Eminem. Garth Brooks.
Big Time Rush.
Jeez. Little Mix and One Direction.
21 Pilots.
The Black Eyed Peas.
Probably J. Cole.
I was really obsessed with Taylor Swift's Style album.
Hannah Montana.
That was probably when Wiz Khalifa was getting pretty big, so I'd say probably that.
NWA.
Panic at the Disco. Probably Taylor Swift.
I honestly didn't really listen to music.
Is musicals, do they count?
Sure.
Hamilton.
Kind of AC/DC for hockey, get ready to go before the games, but that's probably about it.
So I'm not gonna lie to you, I went through a bit of a phase. I would say I used to listen to Breaking Benjamin.
You look like you did.
Thank you for that. Tradition is what makes D-Days so special. It's the 108th D-Days, but it's only the 105th D-Days football game. We asked our followers what their favorite D-Days tradition is.
And I'd have to say my favorite D-Days tradition is probably the tailgate. What about you?
My favorite is by far the street dance.
Let's look. And it looks like tailgate won was 64%, and street dance was only 4%. We got to bring those numbers up.
We got to bring those numbers up.
Follow our Twitter page at USD Coyote News to take part in our weekly polls. A Minnesota man has grown the largest pumpkin in North America. Travis Geinger, a horticulture teacher, set a new record with his 2,500-pound pumpkin that he named Maverick. After growing it for 6 months, the pumpkin was towed 2,000 miles to California for the competition. In addition to the win, Geinger took home a cash prize of $23,000, $9 for each pound of the pumpkin. And that's all for Coyote News.
Pick up the Valance issue for a look into the history of D-Days football.
Listen to 91.1 KAOR FM this weekend for live coverage of Coyote football.
Don't forget to follow our social media pages for daily updates and the weekly poll. Coyote News wishes you a safe and happy D-Days. Have a great night.